Welcome to Show Me Sports Legacies. Tonight we're going to talk to Coach Jeremy Esry of the North Central Missouri College Pirates men's basketball program, and we're looking forward to that conversation. Chris Hockenfels. Chris, once again, I need help.
What do you got for me tonight?
I'm living in a bubble. It's called the roller coaster that is coaching Trenton Middle School boys basketball. It's begun last night. I was keeping stats for the A squad, and I was worried we might need a new metric called turnovers per minute. But it turned out we didn't need turnovers per minute last night, thank goodness. We got past that one, but then we got the guys off the bench into the game, and then I thought we might need another metric, which is like shots per minute. Because, they were firing off of shots from all over the court in their time on the court. But in this bubble, I don't really know what's going on in the real world of sports. Tell me, are the Cowboys and Jets getting relegated? Because I hear a lot of consternation on the morning talk shows. Will the entire SEC get into the college football playoffs? I know the Chiefs falling apart because now they've lost a game. My goodness. What is going on? Tell me what's going on in the world of sports from your perspective.
Well, if you want to have a podcast about relegation, I'm all in because I think it's one of the things in sports that is dynamic that we don't do in the major sports in the United States, which is really kind of interesting that when the really bad teams are bad, you make them go away and earn their way back. And of course, we would never do that to America's team, the Cowboys, or Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. But locally, it's been kind of fun because the Chiefs have been on such a great run, although they lost to a really good Buffalo team the other night. There's always Chiefs talk. But the Royals are back in the news a little bit this past week because Bobby Witt, Coach Matt Cotrero, and Salvador Perez were all up for major awards along with Seth Lugo. My favorite stat of the week was when Bobby Witt got his Silver Slugger along with his Gold Glove, it was announced that he was one of two players that have ever, at the shortstop position, won a batting title, a Gold Glove, and a Silver Slugger. The other is Alex Rodriguez, but the cool thing about Bobby Witt is he did it all in 1 year, this year, and it took Alex Rodriguez over a career he got that. Matt Cotrero just announced yesterday that he got second place in Coach of the Year to Stephen Vogt from Cleveland. Salvi picked up a Silver Slugger, and Seth Lugo was top 3 for the Cy Young. So lots of promising things for the Royals. And then for your college football playoff, I wish I could explain to people how that works because I still don't know if I understand, but I did see that the rankings came out yesterday. And the actual rankings for the college football don't match the bracket. So try explaining that to someone that's not a sports fan or even is a sports fan, that the committee now ranks the 12 teams, but that ranking isn't the seeds. That ranking just helps them determine what the seeds are going to be. So although Boise State is ranked, I believe, 10 or 11, they're the 4 seed in the tournament because they're going to win their conference. So don't ask me. I'll just probably watch the games and then enjoy it like everybody else. But that's a new thing for college football this year is we're going to have to figure out how that playoff system actually works.
We just need to wait until Greg Sankey tells us what we're supposed to think about that.
Okay.
The SEC runs the show. We all know that.
They're probably going to get a couple teams in.
Yeah. Another thing we should mention is Salvi winning that Roberto Clemente Award, Man of the Year. That's unbelievable.
More accolades for our guy Salvi, who's just on that trek to the Hall of Fame, needs a couple more years like this, and he's headed in the right direction, and he's still a Royal, which is exciting too.
God bless the Royals. We start a podcast in the middle of the summer and, you're thinking, what are we going to talk about when the Chiefs aren't playing? And the Royals just give us all sorts of content and things to be a great fan about, and we love it.
And basketball season's in full swing. Colleges cranking up, and excited to talk to our guest tonight about great basketball being played right here in Trenton, Missouri.
Well, let's go through the bio, and then we'll let Jeremy actually talk. He's sitting here in the studio with us. Jeremy Esry is in his 12th season with North Central Missouri Pirates basketball program, 9th as the head coach. Pirates under Coach Esry have gone to the national tournament in 2019, 2021, and 24. Probably had their best, at least ranking-wise, team in 2020 that was 7 out of 16 weeks, I think ranked number 1 in the nation, and didn't get the chance to go because of the pandemic, which canceled the national tournament that year. He didn't let that slow the program down. Building off last year's national tournament appearance, the Pirates are off to an undefeated start, ranked number 4 in the nation for Division II National Junior College Athletic Association rankings. Jeremy's a native of Hamilton, Missouri, played for the NCMC Pirates, and then transferred to Central Methodist College, helping them to a Sweet 16 finish in the NAIA National Tournament. Coach Esry, going into this season, he's added to that on the win column. Nothing on the loss column he's added. But he was 159-76 through his first 8 years as head coach. And he's 4-time NJCAA Region 16 Coach of the Year. Please welcome to the program, Coach Jeremy Esry. Good to have you.
Hey, appreciate it. I'm excited to be here. And, as we were talking off air, I really enjoy what you guys are doing for all the sports in this area. And, excited to hopefully talk a little all sports and area and basketball and everything. So.
Let's do it. Okay, let's get started. We want to know the backstories of things. And so how did you first get introduced to the game of basketball? Were you a little pup and your dad? How did that happen?
Little guy, and I've always loved all sports, but basketball is probably the one that, ever since a young age. And if you watch me coach, you'd probably think this is ironic and stuff, but my dad was a basketball official, and I need to do a better job of treating those guys with a little more respect at times. Yeah, sometimes. At times, but nothing but respect for those guys and what they do. And my dad was a high school basketball official around here for 32 years. And so, my first memories of basketball and stuff are spending quality time with him and getting to go to games, because he would take me, probably relieve my mom of me being a nuisance at the house and stuff. And so he would take me with him. Man, I 5, 6, 7 years old, and I can remember him going to the games, and he would point and he'd tell me where to sit and stuff in the bleachers, and it'd be all by myself. And then people would yell at him and stuff, and I'd try to yell back, "That was a good call," and all that stuff. But, probably my favorite two things about going with him, and looking back, my favorite thing was bonding with him and getting to ride with him and stuff. My favorite things at the time were hospitality rooms. They were really cool. They're really good, and I could tell you.
Still good.
Oh, yeah, they still are, and, I could tell you all the good ones around and all that stuff. And then I think what really got me hooked basketball-wise and stuff was I would go with my dad to these games, watch him officiate and stuff, but the thing I was most concerned about was there going to be a loose basketball after the game. And when he was in the locker room and when he was showering and finishing up and stuff, was I going to be able to play basketball for 5 minutes out on the court? And if there wasn't a basketball, I was getting a bag of popcorn and balling it up, and I was shooting on that stuff and all that. So I remember, playing the 5 minutes after the basketball games, and that was my life, just getting to do that stuff. So I think that's where it all started from.
I love it. I can see it. I can actually see it. You played at Penney High School, which has a pretty strong tradition of excellence in both boys and girls basketball, at least during the time that I'm aware of. What was it like to be a Hornet and wear the blue and gold?
We were all right. We were good. I always tell people something happened after I left. The water got better or something, and they became state champions in football and were really good. And my sister won a state basketball title. So it was a lot of fun. I wish I could take credit for some of those others, because there were some special teams, special players that have been through Penney High School. It was really exciting for me just to get to play there, because, again, you grow up, you watch them, and there's some history there, and you want to be part of that. And so I got to play for Coach Ken Ruffcorn, who had a kid my age, Jason Ruffcorn. Not only was he my high school coach, he was my coach since fourth grade, I believe, third or fourth grade. So Kenny and our Coach Ruffcorn and my dad started getting us together when we were younger, and then Coach Ruffcorn coached us all the way up there. So I think that's kind of unique in a sense, where my high school coach was also my third grade coach. A lot of good memories with that, and still a lot of drills that we incorporate that I learned way back then.
I would love to see some kids coming up to seventh grade basketball that had parents doing that for them. So
it seems to be a common thread when we talk to folks and hear stories about basketball programs that come up, that we got the ball in the hands of our kids when they were younger, and then we had a parent or two coach them and keep them together. So when they got to middle school and they got to high school, they had played some basketball and they played together, and they knew they had a basketball IQ already. And I know, being a kid of someone that was involved in basketball a lot, you always have that advantage, like being a coach's kid or a friend of a coach's kid, that you were in the gym and you knew what basketball was, and you had that background knowledge when you came to middle school and high school. And then those great teams get born from there and then go on and, of course, do great things in high school.
Yeah, I think it's so beneficial, and I think we've seen it here with some of the Trenton teams and the girls team, that program that was a couple years ago. You you see where they started and they came from, and you see, the Facebook memories of their parents bringing them to tournaments and coaching them and all that stuff. And I think it's a direct reflection. You see nowadays when I'm recruiting and stuff, and you see the high school programs giving back to the elementary schools and having the elementary programs and then the middle school programs. I think it just goes really, really far. And you're just going to see kids more well-versed in the game, have a better understanding for it. So I think it's very, very key.
Hey, and my next question about your biggest rivals in 1977, when I was a senior at Lawson High School, playing against Kenny Dixon and Kirby Carroll, a couple all-district players, and Julie Chadwick leading the Hamilton Hornets to the state title.
Yeah.
In a year when Lawson was probably the second best team in the state. We weren't natural rivals, but that year we had good teams and we matched up and we went after it. It was really a lot of fun. Who were their biggest rivals that you remember?
For us, it was South Harrison and Gallatin probably. Those were the two biggest ones for us. And we played Trenton every once in a while, but they weren't in the GRC at the time. And Gallatin's only 13 miles away, and South Harrison was loaded with athletes when we were there. So they were the team to beat. They had the Madison brothers, and they had Tyler Llewellyn and Caleb Obert, just a lot of studs going around up there at that time.
Trenton got into the kind of GRC scene when we started coming to the Hamilton basketball tournament, which has a lot of tradition. And we had gone to tournaments like the Putnam County tournament, had a little success there, but wanted to get more regional and get to some teams because we kind of had our eye on we're going to end up hopefully in one of these conferences with teams like Hamilton and South Harrison and Gallatin. So we got into the Gallatin tournament first and then the Hamilton tournament, started seeing those rivalries and then kind of creating some of our own on the girls' side as well, boys and girls. And you're right, they had some really good teams and some really good championship games I can remember at both the Gallatin and Hamilton tournament when everybody played. And then Hamilton kind of moved out of the Gallatin tournament and people shuffle around. But there was a time when all 3 or 4 of those teams were in both tournaments and you were going to see at least one of them when you were in those tournaments.
When I grew up, the GRC was probably one of the best Class S basketball leagues in Missouri. Gallatin was really strong. My uncle coached there with the Morrissey brothers and some of those teams. Stanberry won a state championship. Princeton, King City, they were all good, and they had a lot of tournaments, and they played each other multiple times in a season, which really creates those rivalries when you get in those early season GRC tournaments, and then you go to Gilman City or you go to North Harrison or you go to King City Invitational, and you see those teams again, and you don't like them, and you
got to play
get after
4 times in a year, and it can be a lot of fun.
So you got an offer to come to NCMC.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you feel?
Yeah, so I took a year and went to Missouri Western just as a student right out of college or right out of high school, and then I learned, hey, I really love basketball. I want to try to continue to play and do all that stuff. So very grateful for Coach Richmond for giving me an opportunity. And Tony Gannon, I don't know if you guys know Tony Gannon. He was an official for a long time and stuff. Tony Gannon, grew up playing with him. Again, Coach Ruffcorn and my dad were guys that helped us growing up coaching. But then Tony had a travel team. And so I would travel around with them a little bit in the high school era and play with his son, who was really good, and a couple others. And Tony and Coach Richmond would deal some cards every now and then and do some stuff. And Tony said, hey, Jeremy, I think Jeremy still wants to play basketball. So Coach got me up here on a visit. And looking back now and where I'm at here with North Central and the stuff, it was a great decision to come back here. And I'm very grateful for Coach Richmond give me an opportunity.
I happen to know some stories about you in addition to watching you play, but I know that you were almost like a coach on your team. Mm-hmm. A lot of guys came out to your house. Your folks hosted people. There were a lot of steaks cooked on the grill.
There were, yeah.
And I was aware of that, and I think that sounds like a coach in the making when they start doing that kind of stuff with the team building.
Point guards, man. Point guards. Never know.
Yeah. You look back and you're like, oh, yeah, maybe that was a good trait to have as a coach and stuff, and or as a player or a point guard, and that would translate to being a coach and stuff. I know Coach Richmond, every time I got on the bus, it was a running joke. Coach Richmond asked me if everybody was on the bus, everybody's there and all that stuff. Okay, yeah, that's my responsibility, I guess. And I had a couple buddies that I loved up here. They probably didn't love class too much, so I'd wake up and knock on their door, make sure they go to class and stuff. Just doing it because I wanted to win. But then realizing now, like, okay, that's some of the stuff I still have to do.
Coach and training.
Yeah.
Coach and training.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you finish up your 2 years here, and then you go to Central Methodist. What took you to Central Methodist? And talk about your experience there.
Oh, yeah. So it was just another opportunity to play basketball. Went on a couple visits, and probably one of the things that really enticed me about Central Methodist is it's 30 minutes away from University of Missouri. And, I had some friends that were going to Missouri, and I got to hang out with them a lot more. One of my good friends still is Colin Brown, who played for Missouri and got drafted by the Chiefs and all that stuff. And so opportunity to get to hang out with him more, to go watch his football games and do all that stuff kind of drew me towards Central Methodist, and really, really enjoyed what they had to offer in terms of being a small town and a really cool little small campus. And then their coach, Jeff Sherman at the time, was really good. And, yeah, he ran a really good program. So
You got to the Sweet 16 in the NAIA. Now, where was the NAIA being played at that time? Was this in municipal, or was this in?
Yeah, so this was our second year being Division I NAIA. Before that, it would have been Division II NAIA, and that was down at Point Lookout and College of the Ozarks. And so then we got to go to Kansas City for ours, and what a really, really cool experience to go there and play in municipal. It was just a place with so much history. We could probably talk about that for a long time, because that place is just really cool. And so, yeah, got to go do that, and we beat the 4 seed, which was really, really cool. Going off the floor, of course, we weren't expected to win, and we beat a team that was really, really good. And going off the floor, and I'll never forget, the team that was playing next was William Jewell. And so Coach Hawley's there just yelling for us and screaming for us, and it was really cool. And they were the 32 seed at the time. They ended up beating the 1 seed right after us, and it was just, I'll never forget Coach Hawley's emotion and all that stuff after that. So,
if you love basketball, I'll put this out there. That tournament at Municipal, the NAIA, is so much fun. We used to take a group down from Trenton to go every year.
I remember seeing some of you guys sometimes.
Right. And later on, Richard Ashenfelter, who went to Trenton High School and played here and coached here and loved athletes here, he had been going to that tournament since the 50s, and I would drive him down there, and we would just tell basketball stories, and he would tell me about going down there, taking the train from Trenton to go down to downtown Kansas City, and then walking to Municipal and watching games down there in the 50s, and the tradition of it. It's just a cool place to play, and there's lots of stories. Because some of the bigger schools would get invited to go there that are now D1 schools and play, and just a lot of fun to go down. And I'm jealous because you got to play on that court. That would have been really, really fun.
I remember going down there with my uncle, who was basketball coach at Lawson after he was at Gallatin, and he'd get out of school so I could get out of school. My dad would sign the note that I had NAIA-itis. And so we'd go, and they used to play 8 games.
Yeah.
The Sweet 16 was an 8-game day.
The first couple days, yeah.
And that was the day to go.
Yeah.
Not only that, they used to have what's called brown bag lunch day. Mm-hmm. And you could bring your lunch, and you didn't even have to pay money for concessions. They'd let you bring in your little lunch bag and sit there and have your bologna sandwich and your juice box and whatever, and watch games all day.
I'm hoping that Tom Stanturf and Steve Perry are listening, because I went down with them this time, and I had to sneak some cookies into my coat. I mean, they insisted that I put some cookies in my coat.
They might have canceled that because of Steve Perry. I think he was bringing in coolers. I'm pretty sure. Like he had everything under the sun in his coolers and stuff. So yeah,
that is classic.
And one year, I was assistant coach at Peru State College up in Nebraska, and my head coach got sick. He was supposed to be a red coat for the NAIA national tournament. And so there's 5 coaches they select every year. You're a red coat. You watch every single game. There's 31 games, 32 teams, 31. I don't know if that's
that's right.
That 31 games. Yeah. Hardest. They always call it the toughest tournament and all that stuff. So I had to go in his place. So I got to watch 31 games. They put you up at what was the Aladdin at the time, right across the street. But you had to be there from the 8 a.m. game to the late game. A lot of basketball, but really cool experience.
I love that. There's some great players that played in that tournament. So you start your assistant coaching career. You went a couple places, and you finished your master's degree during that time, which had to be tough. Talk about the things you were doing to set yourself up for what came later.
Yeah. Out of college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was I had a business marketing degree and stuff, and again, didn't know what I wanted to do. Had an old assistant coach call me up and say, hey, I'm looking for an assistant coach. He was actually looking for a phone number for another guy that I knew. And he's like, all right, I need an assistant coach. And I was like, well, I'm not doing anything. Here's a number, but also, I'm not doing anything. Maybe I'll try to slide in there and do that. And grateful for him to give me an opportunity. Went back and got my master's degree at Central Methodist with the Master's of Education, primarily so I could hopefully take the next steps in the coaching profession, because a lot of them, they want to see a master's degree. A lot of night classes with the basketball, but a fun experience, a good experience.
So you get an offer to come back to NCMC to coach under the coach. Was your coach when you played?
Yeah. Then again, after the master's degree, and I'd always tried to help Coach Richmond with some players and all that stuff while I was gone and everything. And then I was like, hey, is there any way I could get up here and help you? And he was really good at helping me try to find a job on campus to become his assistant coach as well. And so I got to be on staff with him and Coach Woods, and so which was an awesome experience with Coach Woods. And you talk about an awesome man who knows a ton about basketball, and then even more one-liners and great stories and stuff was Coach Richard Woods. And so Coach Richard gave me that opportunity to come back and just to learn from him, and to see probably what I learned most from him was the in and outs of the college basketball coaching profession, that not just basketball, just the grade stuff, just the everyday preparation and stuff was really beneficial for me.
So I got an opportunity when I was coaching at Trenton. Coach Woods was coaching the boys at Trenton for about a 2 or 3 year stretch. And the stories you would get from Coach Woods are great because they were basketball, but then he'd throw in like a little life lesson into like make deep thoughts, make you think like, wow, did he just tell me how to break a zone or how to live my life? You'd try to figure out which one. He was such a great guy and would always help you. And the one-liners, he would always, if you'd had a tough loss or something, he'd come up to you after the game and say, don't worry, the best you can ever do when you're a coach is just go one game over 500. Don't get too good because then they'll want you to be good always. And don't be too bad because then they'll fire you. Just one game over 500. And you think, was he telling the truth? Is that really what I should try to do? He was just so great. Anybody that got to coach with him or alongside of him was always grateful for it and better for it.
Yeah, I think he has a zone offense that's just like based around who the parents are. You always got to put the board member's son on the weak side so he can get some rebounds. Right. You got to put somebody else up top so they can shoot it.
He'd always say too is be careful, the short white guy who can't dribble. Don't let him shoot because that's why he's out there, right? Just little tidbits like that. Like, oh yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, he was a classic.
I love that. I work with Travis Mullinex now. Yeah. And man, every day in the gym, we're having fun. Mm-hmm. And there's something hilarious that goes on, but we're trying to teach hard, and work them hard. And then when we run them, we look at each other and I go, I don't know that we should enjoy this much, but it's the most favorite part of practice when you see their tongues hanging out because they can't be into mischief at that point. So what were the first steps? What were the things that you wanted to put your imprint on the program? They had been a good program, hadn't quite gotten to the levels they wanted, but winning program certainly.
Yeah, certainly.
Throughout that period.
I just wanted to maybe put my stamp on. Never been a really good athlete. I've never really been, there's been a lot of stuff that athletically, there's a lot of people that have been better than me, but I kind of hung my hat on being tougher, being, more well prepared, trying to find other avenues that I could maybe taking advantage of. So just try to put my stamp on that in terms of how hard we play, in terms of exposing certain aspects or just being relentless in everything that we do. And so that's what I was hoping to relay to our kids.
There was a good St. Joe News Press article, talked about the fun part of being a competitive person and moving into the coaching profession after your playing career was over. And then you talked about the style you wanted to play, and your quote was, "We will always play fast and get the ball moving. We will play team basketball and share the basketball." And that sounds like somebody that sharing the basketball is a thing that you were good at when you played.
Yeah, probably another point guard thing.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't have the best jump shot or anything like that, but understood flow and getting the ball moving and stuff and spacing. And I think it's there's a couple clips on YouTube now, and it's called Spurs Basketball, a beautiful game. And there's just them moving the basketball, and there's a lot of rhythm to it, a lot of flow and stuff. And so I just love that aspect of the game of basketball. I think it's just there's so much free flowing, but there can also be some structure to it as well. So I think I just love that aspect, and we try to incorporate that. It's boring to play slow, so we try to play fast and entertain. We're going to have some mistakes out there for sure with that, but we're going to try to put an entertaining product out there too.
Okay, now I don't want to put you on the spot, but I got a little surprise for you here.
All right.
Okay? So I got this prospect I want to tell you about. He's a non-traditional student. He has a little bit of age on him. His name's Chris Hockenfels. He's how tall?
Oh, 6'2" if I wear my Hokas.
Okay, 6'2" in his Hokas. Strong ball handler, good outside shot. I mean, what can you do with him? And can you give him your elevator speech about why he should enroll at NCMC? You're recruiting this guy.
Don't tell him that my age.
Okay, we won't.
He's just fresh out of high school.
Fresh out of high school. I've had, I've been lucky enough to play some Sunday night men's ball with Chris and stuff. So we're running him off a lot of staggered screens because he can really shoot the thing. So, we're running some elevator screens for him. We're running some staggered set screens, but we're going to try to get him as many touches as he can get, the ball in his hand as much as possible. Probably not the quickest feet. So his defense is he's going to make 3 and his opponent's only going to score 2. So there's his
good math. I like
right there. So we're but yeah, we're going to get him a lot of shots. And then
I think that sounds like a good pitch. I think that's going to get him on campus, getting him a lot of shots.
Yeah, there we go. And I usually don't say that to recruiters, but if he can shoot that thing, so we do want guys that can space the floor and can do all that. And then I think our crowd's going to love him because how hard he plays and stuff. And we're lucky up here at North Central to get great crowds that love the game and respect the game being played the right way. So he'll be a fan favorite.
I've got that as one of my keynotes, and maybe we'll talk about it later. But what you said about the Ketchum Center is such a great place, especially if you go around and see some of the other gyms and JUCOs and even small colleges. There's only a handful of people in the crowd, and there's not a lot of energy in the crowd. And then you come to a game like we went, was it last week, and it's full, and the energy is already there in an early November game on campus. Yeah. It's just a different JUCO, and I always wondered, is that a selling point for some of these kids that want to come here? I know you think that maybe you're not going to play in full crowds, but the Ketchum Center can really fill up on Wednesday night or a Saturday afternoon for our games, and a lot of people love their basketball in this area.
Yeah, certainly. We use that, and of course there's junior colleges in bigger towns that probably have a lot more attractions and all that stuff, but we sell it up and we have film and clips of it, the great crowds that we get, and we certainly use that to our advantage because it's special. When we travel on the road, we don't have that many. There's not as many fans. There's not just general fans that want to come to games. There might be family members and stuff for the teams, but there's not just general members that are super invested in that. You got your Indian Hills that do that, but in terms of our level and stuff, I think we're really lucky and we have a great fan support to do that. And we tell our guys, and I think it's true. I hope it's true because I tell most of our recruits this, but you are going to be known around town. Like everybody, they're going to know you're a basketball player. They're going to know how many dunks you had last game, how many threes you had last game. So when you go to Hy-Vee, you better be prepared to answer questions. And they're going to say, hey, I saw you last time. And you're going to be a little local celebrity. And so I think that's super special what we have here at North Central.
I had no problem getting my daughter to go to NCMC games when she was little because they cranked that music. And she is bopping in the aisle and loves it. Let's go to the game, Dad. I love the atmosphere. So when they built Ketchum Center and they had to kind of hit the target, how big it should be, the track, walking track around, this and that and the other. But they put some sound into that thing over the years.
Oh, yeah.
And it gives it a lot of life.
It does.
And you guys have done a lot of work, even going back to when my dad was there and Nate and the coaching staff, because that building was kind of originally built as more of a YMCA type. It wasn't built for a big basketball game crowd. And you guys have kind of morphed that Ketchum Center into a great basketball facility, especially for JUCO and then for Holiday Hoops. And and high school teams love to come play on it. College teams love to play on it. And it's really kind of a neat venue now for watching college basketball.
Yeah, it's really cool what they've done with it all. And your dad was a large part in getting all that rolling. Yeah, we're super lucky.
Okay, a couple things and whether they affect you at this level. Has name, image, likeness entered the chat room?
It hasn't for the North Central Pirates. That's probably we're far away from that. It has with some of our guys getting recruited. So this is our first year that we've kind of experienced some of our guys who are getting recruited and then talking with the coaches, and they're throwing out numbers to all that stuff and what they can offer and all that. It's just been eye-opening for myself and certainly for our players and stuff. So we're not to the stage yet with the NIL stuff, but we're in the talking stages with our players moving on from here and getting some of that stuff.
So is there any issue where you, from year 1 to year 2, somebody's wavering because they might have a better offer and there might be some money attached to that? Are you seeing that yet?
I mean, for us, we haven't seen that yet per se. We've had some guys that have flirted going on from year 1 and going to a 4-year school after the first year. And we certainly would encourage it if it's going to be beneficial for their life and for, their schooling.
And that's representative of the quality of player that you're getting, that they have
for
those
sure.
options.
Yeah. I think it's we'll use it as a recruiting tool and stuff too. Like if we can get you there in 1 year to where you want to be, then great. And then hopefully we can fill that spot with another great guy. So.
Have the transfer rules that have totally taken a 180 in Division I, have they trickled down to this level at all? Because it used to be, it seemed like really tough to transfer from one school to another. You had to sit out a year, whatever. And now it seems like they've totally flipped and
yes,
kids are playing in one school and then the next year they're playing in a different school.
So I think it's trickled down because the big schools, they're all hitting the transfer portal. So everybody's getting transfer portal kid. Whereas 10 years ago, not even 10, 5 years ago or so, they were going high school kids. So I think where it's trickled down to us is hopefully we're able to get a more experienced or better high school kid because those 4-year schools aren't taking them anymore. So they were taking those kids. Now they're just going straight portal. That's leaving a lot of opportunities for high school kids for us to get high school kids. It's not leaving more opportunities for high school kids because they're having to go the JUCO route. And
now they're
like
fighting for a Texas recruit or a Missouri recruit.
Mm-hmm.
And, that
even at the Mo West and the MIAA level, now they're going to get, instead of getting some freshmen, they're going to get those kids that were at Drake that were the 10th man looking to transfer. So now they're getting those kids instead of getting high school kids. So where we tried to get it, we didn't really go in the portal at all or that stuff because it's super competitive and there's bigger schools doing that. So we tried to focus on those high school kids that would probably have D2 offers before 5 years ago that don't have those anymore. We're going to try to get those.
Smart recruiting on your part.
Okay, I'm calling this segment 3-second violation because I got some questions. I'm pretty sure we're going to camp out too long on them. But the first one, Jeremy, is what was the favorite game you ever played in or witnessed?
Yeah, favorite game I guess ever played in. Does that include coaching? Or is that just play?
That can be coaching.
Probably.
If you were in the gym.
Yeah, we were in the gym.
Yeah. In the gym.
We won a game a couple years ago by drawing a alley-oop play to hit right at the buzzer and won it on the road, and that was pretty cool. I thought it was just everything worked out right at the right time, and the buzzer sounded, and he dunked it, and it was really cool. Or he dunked it, then the buzzer sounded.
Yeah, was your favorite celebration the one that was put out when you went to the national tournament and everyone went nuts and there's water
crazy.
Spraying everywhere?
Those are fun times too. Those locker room celebrations. That water is super cold, but those were pretty fun. And then probably making that first national tournament at the Ketchum Center, where again it was super loud and the crowd was amazing, and we were kind of the underdogs going in, and being able to get a win in that environment and that energy from the crowd was just amazing.
Well, Jeremy's not with us for terribly long, but Chris and I will double back on this favorite game we ever saw, and I've got one, and I'm sure Chris has got one. We'll talk about that at the tail end of this episode.
Love to hear those.
What other kind of outlets are there for you? Do you do things that are kind of non-competitive and get you kind of centered and calm, or do other things that are competitive in your spare time?
I need to find some more of those, I think. I was watching some stuff on Dan Hurley, and he has just a room of wacky object stuff and video game stuff that he does. I would say the main thing I do is mow my lawn. I love mowing my lawn. People probably tell you I mow it too much.
They call that lawn therapy. As you get older like me, that's big time. That's the time when you think. Right, that's the time you look forward to because you can relax and think, and no one's bothering you. Lawn therapy.
So lawn therapy, and then I've never heard that, but I'd probably do that a lot, and just lets me think. And you're outside, and it's great. And then the other thing is we got some young kids, my wife and I do, and we just cruise around on the golf cart. And they usually stay quiet, and they look around, and they love looking at stuff and waving at people. So just kind of going for cruises on the golf cart around the neighborhood and seeing everybody has been good.
Can't let you leave without talking about this year's team. You got somebody that just signed a D1 scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that, please. Just talk about some of the players on your team and the nature and the culture and just the feel of this team.
Yeah, we hope we're special. It's still early in the season, but we have a great nucleus coming back, and it all starts with Tyler King, and he just signed with SIU Edwardsville, which is 20 minutes outside of his house in St. Louis, and will hopefully be a really great fit for him, and we're excited for him and proud of him, but. And he has a lot to accomplish here, hopefully still. So it starts with Tyler King, but then we got some great guys around him. Giovanni Mack is probably the best leader I've ever had. Well, I'll take that back. I got three of the best leaders we've ever had this year is Giovanni Mack, Joe Clark, and Mikey Thomas, and they're all sophomores for us. But Gio's he started his own podcast when he was at Belton High School to get everything rolling. He just wanted to generate more interest in the basketball program and generate more interest with the students and stuff. And so he started his own podcast interviewing teachers, which I thought was really cool. One of his guests was Chandler Wilson. She was a teacher there.
Nice. Full circle, Trenton moment.
And, and we were recruiting him and stuff.
Athlete.
And we asked Chandler, hey, how is he as a kid and stuff? And she said, hey, he's an amazing kid. So, so Gio's a great leader and a dynamic point guard. If you ever get a chance to get out and watch him, he plays super fast, but he's quick and he makes great decisions. He's already had 3 games. We played 7 games. He's had 3 games over 10 assists this year already. So his highest is 15 assists in one game. So he's doing really good that way. Joe Clark's just a natural leader. He's from Mid Buchanan High School, so KCI guy and just awesome. And then we got a couple St. Joe guys that have been really good for us too.
The thing that's noticeable to me about your team is it's gotten bigger and more athletic over the years. I mean, you used to always be super athletic, but you were not big.
We got a little more height this year.
And you got some bigs that really run the floor. It's entertaining to watch.
They play hard, and they run the floor and work their tails off. And John Carroll's another one, a big kid from Georgia, and he's been really good lately.
I just want to thank Jeremy for coming in, and we're excited about the season. It's off to a great start. We'll keep tabs on it. And this is something, if you live in this area and you haven't gone to an NCMC men's basketball game and women's basketball game, especially when they have the double headers, it is great. Bring your kids, come see it. I mean, it's entertainment, and it's one of the best things about winter is basketball, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Going to a gym, watching a game when it's cold outside and it's hot inside and things are crackling. And that's what happens in these games. So I just really recommend it.
Yeah, and Trenton's kind of a basketball town in the winter because you can hit a game just about any night of the week. You can go to middle school, high school. We have college. We have tournament during the Christmas break. So you should be able to get your share of basketball in, and the boys are a hot ticket right now.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you, guys.
Hey, thank you so much. Okay, it's always fun to have an enthusiastic guest who's knowledgeable about all this stuff and knows a lot of local history and is doing great things, creating his own legacy and creating a legacy in this program. So we're really happy to have Jeremy.
It's been fun to follow him because when I was coaching, he was just, I think, maybe junior, senior year at Penney, and then got to watch him play a little bit in college and then be an assistant coach and a coach. And that's how you form legacies and form traditions are people like Coach Esry who have a passion for it, who are dedicated, stick around in one place for a while and build something. And I think he's seeing the fruits of all those labors now with successful programs that go to the national tournament and hang banners. And congrats to him and his team, and looking forward to watching them play this year.
Okay, we were in this segment we called 3-second violation because we were going to camp out. So favorite game you ever played in or witnessed? I'm going to ask you that question, Chris.
Favorite game I ever played in was probably in high school when I broke our school's scoring record. And we were a newer school, so there wasn't many records to break. I remember it because of the fun that we had after the game talking about it and the stories that we had. It was on the road, and I had scored 31 points, and we went to Arby's after the game, and my coach was kind of a prankster, and he said, why don't you come sit with me while I call the newspaper guy and tell him about your game, because you scored 31. That's a new school record, and I'll let you be a part of the conversation and, whatever. And I'm like, oh, this is so great. And so I had a friend my best friend that played on the team, and he only scored 1 point that night. And so he calls up and he goes, is this the paper? Yeah, I need to talk to the person that's going to do the story. Okay, you talk. He goes, yeah, I don't want to tell you. I want you to lead off with Chris Ockenfels and Cleve Shaw combined for 32 big ones tonight in a road loss. And I just looked at him. He winked at me and smiled. He goes, well, it was more like 31-1, but who's counting? So I remember things like that, more that, like Jeremy was saying, that you get to spend time with people and tell stories than the actual game itself. But that's probably one of my favorite ones. What about you?
I grew up around GRC basketball. Actually, I'm a Lawson kid, but I would hop in the car with my grandparents. I would hop in the car with my uncle's father-in-law, who would always go up to these games in Gilman City, in North Harrison, in King City, in Gallatin, and in the old gym where literally I wasn't that tall back then, but I had to duck down so I could see whether the basket was made because there was a balcony right over the top of your head. And those were great, the greatest team in Gallatin history, 1971, 70-71. They had Dennis Morrissey and they had Keith Morrissey as a sophomore and Howard Weldon and Phil Gooding and Richard Reynolds. And I just remember those names, and I thought they were the most amazing players. And they had some great games, but the game I really remember because I got old enough where I kept stats for my uncle in some of these games if he knew I was coming. So I went to King City in 1973, watched Gallatin play South Harrison. South Harrison had beaten Gallatin early in the year. They turned it around and beat them 74-46. Keith scored 46 points, the equivalent of what South Harrison scored that night, and he had approximately 30 rebounds. So 46 and 30, pretty good stat.
That's not a bad night. That's not a bad night at all.
And he's probably one of the greatest athletes to come out of North Missouri and play at the University of Missouri. In football, he was a great athlete in basketball as well. Okay, we talked about playing fast. Jeremy likes to play fast, so I was messing around, and I looked for favorite songs that either have fast in the title or they refer to speed, or there's just about moving down the road fast. We got a few to choose from. There's some traditional ones, but I'm going to let you choose off of the list.
Okay, so your list, and this is a great list, and I got a couple here I'm going to choose from. But you have Fast Car by Tracy Chapman and Fast by Juice, and Life in the Fast Lane by the Eagles, Fast by Luke Bryan, Fast and the Furious 9, Fast Love by George Michael, Fast as You by Dwight Yoakam, and Fast Girls by Janet Jackson. And I'm going with Life in the Fast Lane by the Eagles. I think that's the best on that list by far. What a great song. Fast Car is a great song, too, by Tracy Chapman. That would win, but just what that song's about and in relation to what we're talking about, that's a kind of a depressing song. So going with Life in the Fast Lane. But I've got a list for you here, too. So I'm going to have you pick between two movies with Fast in the title and tell me which one you'd rather pop in the DVD player tonight. For those of you listening that don't know what a DVD player is, it's an actual physical copy of a movie you could actually play instead of streaming. So
it's probably sitting on a shelf somewhere in your house.
Or you could stream these, right? So you get to pick either any of the Fast and the Furious movies, 1 through 10, or Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah, I'd have to go with that last.
Yeah, what a classic from the 80s. And if you haven't seen that movie, pop that in the old DVD player or stream it sometime. One of those teen movies in the 80s, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And I've got a quote for you as well with Fast in it.
Okay.
My coach used to always say this to us when we were playing basketball. Kind of applies to Coach Esry too, is play fast, but don't be in a hurry. Yeah. You ever heard that one? What a great way to play basketball is play fast, but never get to the point where you're in a hurry because that's when you make mistakes.
Be quick, but don't hurry.
Yeah.
Yeah. On that list, I like Dwight Yoakam's Fast as You because I just thought Dwight Yoakam kind of looked like he couldn't care less, but he was kind of magnetic personality.
How fast do you think Dwight Yoakam was if we had to line him up again?
I don't know.
I don't think he'd win a race.
A skinny guy with a hat. Yeah. This is a lot of fun. And we have some fun with this, and we're just kind of into this thing. It's the 11th episode. Great to have some local talent come in and share their time with us, share their stories. I don't know what's coming next, but we're on a ride here.
And for those of you listening, we sure do appreciate you taking the time to listen. We've seen some of the numbers coming in over the last 2 or 3 months that we've been doing this, and they're good, and really appreciate those that take the time and support us, because we're trying to support those out there in the sports world that are creating legacies for us to talk about. We'll keep doing it as long as people keep listening, and heck, we might do it if people don't listen.
It's possible we'll be unaware whether people
That's
are
right.
listening or not, and we do it for our own entertainment. I want to thank everybody for listening to this 11th episode of Show Me Sports Legacies.